What's up, everybody? It's Maisha Edmond, licensed cosmetologist in the state of New York. Also a world, I ain't said that in a long time, certified trichologist. Super excited to be here with you. Listen, I wanted to share my, oh, I found it. Okay, background. A little background. No, y'all don't need the background. Y'all need, okay, yeah, the background for now. Listen, a little bit of housekeeping. I am live on Facebook. Let me see if I can pin that. Show this. Okay. I am live on Facebook as well as YouTube, Instagram on Edmond Trichology. I really should be live on Trichology 911, but I'm on the Trichology 911 page on Facebook. Let me see. I get a little bit of action on Edmond Trichology, but I can go to Trichology 911 on Facebook. So I'll see how that rolls. If it's not a lot, then I will go to the other page. This looks good. All right, what's up? Listen, excited to see you this Monday morning. It is June 1st. What happened? It's like almost Christmas at this point. It is June 1st. In a week, next week, I'll be starting our summer session. It is an abbreviated session of case studies. And so I thought that I would go ahead and do case studies today. Let me see. This looks really good, but I think I'm going to go to Trichology 911 on Instagram so that we can have a little bit of action there. Let me see. Oh, please. That's okay. Done with that. Here. All right. So if you are ready to do some case studies with me today, I want you to go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to go live on Trichology 911, Trichology _911 on Trichology 911. Yeah, Trichology _911 on Instagram as well, so that we can have that. Okay, so let me just go live over here. I don't see the thing. Also, Trichology 911 case studies, the abbreviated summer version, is coming next Tuesday. It is going to be absolutely fabulous. Let me put that on our Instagram. Studies. Oops, wrong thing. While we're waiting, let me know where you're from. Let me know what's going on. If you are a licensed cosmetologist or hair loss practitioner, healthy hair care stylist, let me know what is up with you. Okay, and this is going to be case studies edition. All right, we're going to go live on here. Okay, so if you are ready to do a case study, I am ready to give it to you. We are live on Instagram, Trichology _911. We are also live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook, Maisha Edmond, and the Trichology page on Facebook. Okay, let me give you a little background here. All right, so first, let me let you know, trichology for me had not been the easiest, but now I can say that trichology is easy. Immaculate Crown, how you doing? So we're going to do a case study. I'm going to put it up on the screens. I'm going to go through how I do case studies, and this should help you. And if you're enjoying it, go ahead and join me for case studies. For the summer edition, it starts next Tuesday. You're going to have 4 total case studies, break down everything, how you do your your protocols, how you do your treatment plans, what to look for, all the things. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. Okay. So I'm excited about that. Hey, so I'm going to share the case study with you. If you are on Facebook, YouTube, and all of that, you already see the case study sitting there. I'm going to change this picture so that you can see our case study for today. Who's that? That's Miss T. Let me start with Miss E. There you go. I don't know if you could really see it on Instagram, but it's okay. We're going to break it all the way down. Okay. So we're doing case studies. Now, case studies is an interactive study group and study course that I created like at least 6 years ago now. And it is something that has helped my mentees and coaching clients that as far as trichology to really dominate in the area. So it's really, really good. Okay. So let's get to it. The first one is Miss E. Okay. And so Miss E is a 16-year-old. Well, first of all, let me let you know, you need to look at what are your variables. Your variables are things that raise a red flag for you as a trichologist. So if you see something that raises a red flag for you as a trichologist, go ahead and jot it down or keep it in your mind, because I want to be interactive. So I want you to let me know what you see, what is a problem for you. And if there are people that are not trichologists that are going to be watching this, then it kind of gives them a look at what we are seeing as it relates to trichology. Again, I have a full case studies coming in the next week, and what I'm showing you today is just a sample. Okay. And so if you want to learn how to think through case studies the way that I think through case studies, the consultation, the intake, the protocol logic, the treatment planning, hey Nikki, the follow-up, all those things, then this class is going to be for you. It starts next week. It's going to be absolutely fun. All right, so let's get to this case study. First case study is Miss E, right? And this is basically like how I do it. I find that this helped me, and it's helped a lot of the people that have done the class with me. Okay, so we're looking at variables. I'm gonna read through the case study. I want you to just jot down if you want to, what things would raise a red flag for you, and then we're going to go through it. Okay, so this person is Miss E. She is 16 years old. She has had hair loss for the past 2.5 years. Health and life at a glance. She wears wigs, weaves, braids, ponytails. Okay, relaxes, high lip color, no family hair loss issues. She's an athlete. She has a poor diet. She shampoos when time permits. And then after your trichological exam, you found that she was a Ludwig scale 1, type 1. She has, hey, Jonathan, she has the microscopic exam shows extreme buildup. She has smooth areas around the perimeter, dry breaking hair, negative pull test, and she has a complaint of scalp pain. Okay, so if you can see as much as you can, I don't know if you can, I don't know how to adjust it on Instagram, but if you can see those variables, if you need me to read it again, I'll read it again. But if you see those variables, I want you to let me know what are some variables that you see that raise a red flag for you as a hair loss professional, as a trichologist, as a trichologist, a hair loss practitioner, or a healthy hair care stylist. What are some things that raise a red flag for you? I'll read it one more time. She is 16 years old. Okay, this is our client. She is 16 years old. She has had hair loss for the past 2.5 years. Okay, so she was 13 and a half. Okay, wigs. She wears wigs, weaves, braids, ponytails. She relaxes, and she has high lip color. No family history of hair loss. She is an athlete. She has a poor diet. She shampoos when time permits. As it relates to your trichological exam, she is a Ludwig scale 1. Microscopic exam shows extreme buildup. She has smooth areas around the perimeter, right? She has dry breaking hair, negative pull test, but she complains of scalp pain. So what are your variables? Somebody throw me some variables in the comments. Throw me some variables in the comments. We're doing this case study. Let me see. What's this? Maximize. Can I maximize that? I don't know. I think I did something wrong. Minimize. Okay. What are some of your variables? So one of the variables is that she is only 16 years old. Yes, she's 16 years old. What are the other variables that you see? Yes, okay. Poor diet, poor shampooing. Come on. Yes, beautiful Melody said poor dieting and poor shampooing. Any other variables? What raises a red flag for you? 16 years old, poor diet, poor shampooing. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, let me see. Let me put that up there. Poor dieting, poor shampooing. That's really good. All right, let's go to other red flags. Other red flags is that she's had hair loss for 2.5 years, right? And then we'll go back and we'll explain. A next variable is that she's an athlete. She's an athlete. She's an athlete, right? What's another one? What's another one? Hey, Shawnette. Okay. What's next? What else? What else does she have going on here that raises a red flag? Okay, okay. No family hair loss issues, right? Okay. Styling and chemical variables she has, right? Wigs, weaves, braids, ponytails. Yes, yes. Relaxer and high lift color. Yes, 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 yes. Shampoos when time permits. She says she do it when she feel like it. Uh-huh. What else we got there? What else we got there? Okay. So let's go back to those top variables. First of all, she's 16 years old, right? So this is a major variable because at 16, we have to think about puberty. We have to think about hormones. We have to think about menstrual health. We have to think about the diet, the athletics, the stress, the styling habits, parental consent, right? We also have to be careful not to overtreat and or overpromise because her follicles may still respond well in if the cause is not scarring. So we're looking at different things, right? We're looking at her age, right? The next thing that we're looking at as a variable for this particular client is that she's had hair loss for the past 2.5 years. For the past 2.5 years, she's been experiencing hair loss, right? So that means that this is not acute. This is chronic. This is not acute. This is chronic. I want to show you how I think when I'm seeing clients, when I'm addressing hair loss in clients. Okay. So 2.5 years is a variable for me because this is not acute. This is chronic, right? A 2.5 year history means the condition has time to progress. So we have to determine whether the follicles are still active or whether some areas are becoming like smooth and scarred. And then we did see that within our case study, if you look back on the case study sheet. Okay. Next thing is, right, she's an athlete. That's a variable for me, right? I have like all of my kids are athletes or have been athletes, right? So athletes, being an athlete, this raises a flag for sweating, right? Frequent buildup, dehydration. What else? What else? Under eating, low protein, low iron or ferritin, low vitamin D, right? And then you have those tight ponytails and buns for the sports. So you have a lot of variables there that can really, cause a little issue. Okay. All right. Let's get back into these variables. The next thing is poor diet, right? Shana said poor diet. Poor diet is one of the biggest internal variables. One of the biggest internal variables. Why? Because in a 16-year-old athlete, poor diet is going to can contribute to low ferritin, right? We look at that. Low protein intake, that's important to us as trichologists. Low vitamin D, huge for us, right? Low vitamin B, low zinc, and then overall poor shaft quality. So the shaft quality could be crazy, Crazy, right? So that's really, really big. That's really big. I'm still going. Any questions? Anybody want to add? Anybody want to add? Okay. The next thing is, this is a variable for me because it's like, wait a minute. She has no family hair loss issues, right? Which does not rule out genetic thinning, but it makes us look harder at like acquired causes, right? This does not run in her family, right? But now it makes us say, okay, so I need to lean heavy on the acquired causes. Well, what does acquired causes look like? Acquired causes can be your traction alopecia, right? Breakage, inflammation, nutritional deficiency, chemical trauma, right? We're looking at the case study, scalp neglect, and even hormonal imbalance. She's 16, right? She's 16. So that's big. That's big. The next variable that I'm looking at is that she's on the wigs, weaves, braids, and ponytails, right? Which right now, especially like wigs and weaves, is like a big thing now, like for our like younger teenagers all the way up. But this is a major traction history, right? Because you got the perimeter, you got the temples, you have the nape, you have the parting area. All of those things are vulnerable. So if she has smooth areas around the perimeter, I'm immediately concerned about traction alopecia, possibly early scarring if the follicles are absent, which means that we have to look at her underneath the scope. Making sense? Let me know if I'm making sense. Let me know if this is okay. Let me know. All right, we got a few new viewers. I'm gonna reset the room real quick. I have a full case studies class coming next week, and what I'm showing you today is just a sample. If you want to learn to think through case studies like how I do, through the consultation, through the intake, through the protocol logic, the treatment planning, and the follow-up, the class is starting next week. It is summer edition, so it's abbreviated. It's only 2 weeks, but you get 4 case studies, right? We get to break everything down, and it is only $497. All right, let's get back to the other variables. Another variable for her is that she does have a relaxer, and she does high lift color. So we already said wigs, weaves, braids, ponytails. Now she also does high lift color, right? So this is a double chemical stressor. It's a double chemical stressor, right? Relaxer plus high lift color can create brittle hair, right? Breakage, scalp irritation, inflammation, again, compromised cuticle integrity, right? So this is going to pop off. And the let me see, make sure this. And so that supports the finding of dry and breaking hair, right? Let me see. Anybody saying anything right here? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so now let's look at the characteristics, right? What type of hair loss or damage do we recognize? Go ahead and start putting in the chat. What type of hair loss or damage or scalp issues are you starting to see in your 16-year-old client? What are you starting to see? What type of hair loss is prominent or scalp issues to you? Okay. All right. So based on the information, one of the primary suspects is going to be traction alopecia. Traction alopecia. And this is big. This is a really big way to start to look at hair loss, right? And how you do your consultations and how you look at information to be able to break down how you're going to create a protocol and then put those different protocols together based on what you're seeing to make a treatment plan for your client. So traction alopecia, the strongest signs are weaves, wigs, braids, ponytails, perimeter involvement, scalp pain, smooth areas around the perimeter, right? That whole combination is a red flag. Because scalp pain with the tension styling, it tells us that the follicles have been under repeated mechanical stress, right? Repeated mechanical stress, which means that the smooth areas around the perimeter can mean that the area has moved from irritation and breakage into possible follicular atrophy, right? Let me see. She said, Shana said, maybe, let me look at that. She said, maybe possible early female pattern hair loss. Okay. And as I do in case studies, why do you say that? Put that in the comments. Why would you say early female pattern hair loss? Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Right? Now, what are we looking at in the exam when we're looking at if it's traction alopecia, right? Follicular openings, are they present or they absent, right? Fringe sign, like broken hairs along the hairline, pustules, tenderness, shiny and smooth skin, perifollicular redness, right? Miniaturized hairs around the margin, right? Okay, let me see. What would make you say what you said? What would make you say what you said? That possible early female pattern hair loss. All right, let's get to the other one while she's answering. The secondary suspect is going to be chemical and mechanical breakage, right? So the case says dry breaking hair. She has a history of relaxers and high lift color that strongly suggests that the hair shaft is damaged. So this may not be hair from the root, though, in all areas. Some of what she sees as hair loss may be just breakage, right? If the pull test is negative. But what I would look for is the short broken hairs, white nodes, split ends, mid-shaft breakage, uneven density, right? Weak elasticity and snapping during the manipulation. Okay, let me come back over here. All right. Number 3 is going to be, my concern is going to be scalp inflammation, right? Or severe buildup related to scalp disorders, right? So the microscopic exam is showing extreme buildup. And then she is complaining of scalp pain. So buildup alone can suffocate the scalp environment. But pain makes me ask whether it's inflammation, folliculitis, seborrheic dermatitis, contact dermatitis, or tension-related tenderness, right? So what I would look for is, does she have scaling? Does she have redness? Is there an odor, pustules, plaque, crusting, soreness, of course, itching, excessive oil, flaking, follicular plugging, like all those things, right? I'm looking at all of those things because what type of hair loss are you seeing? Shauna said, I would consider early female pattern hair loss because the client shows a Ludwig type 1 thinning pattern on her exam. Very good. Very, very good. How about early onset CCCA, right, as well? Number 4, my 4th concern is going to be the nutritional or the internal contribution, right? Because she's 16 and she's an athlete with a poor diet. First of all, that's crazy because if you're an athlete, you really can't afford to have a poor diet, right? So I would want labs. We know how to read labs as trichologists. If we don't, we should. I have a class for that, right? Even if the visible presentation screams traction alopecia and breakage, the eternal deficiencies can slow the recovery. You might say, oh, she only needs 4 weeks with me as a protocol. She only needs 4 weeks with me as a protocol. But because her nutritional and internal health are bad, it could slow your recovery. She said, let me see, exam, because the history of traction, chemical damage, poor nutrition, and scalp buildup could also be contributing absolutely to the thinning. Absolutely, Shauna, absolutely. That's good. That's really good. Really, really good. So I would want labs, right? Because I need to see what's going on with this internal, with this nutritional. Now, in my free consultation, 15-minute consultation, as well as any other consultation, I'm asking for a snapshot of what the client or potential client is going to be eating or is eating from breakfast to dinner, including their snacks, right? So I want to know, okay, so what you got going on here? Once I look at that, I want to look at the labs, right? CBC. Now you already know what we do as trichologists: CBC, ferritin, iron, TIBC, vitamin D, vitamin B12, folate, zinc, thyroid panel, which includes the TSH, right? All those things, right? Hormonal markers and different things like that. So I'm looking at that. Anybody? Does that make sense? Right, exactly. So then I'm looking at, okay, now she has a negative pull test, right? Negative pull test means that she may not have active shedding moments, but that points us away from like telogen effluvium as the main issue right now, but it doesn't rule it out. It doesn't rule out traction alopecia. It doesn't rule out break-in. It doesn't rule out CCCA or any kind of scarring alopecia, miniaturization, which Shawnette said is the androgenetic alopecia, nutritional contributions, right? And then poor scalp environment. And to be honest, although telogen effluvium may not be like the main, if you have a poor diet, you're going to have a little telogen effluvium for real, in real life, right? And so you want to document no active shedding observed today, but chronic density loss and breakage are present. So what questions would you ask and why? When you speak to this client, this potential client, what are some of the questions that you would ask this client? Did I fix this up? Okay, we did that one already. What are some of the things that you would ask this client? One of the things I'm going to ask the client is, when did the hair loss start, right? Because we see that she's been having hair loss for 2.5 years, right? So what styles were you wearing the most at that time, right? So you want to connect the timeline to traction alopecia, chemical services, sports, styling, or the health changes. So what questions are you asking that's going to be big for you to help this client, right? Next, where did the thinning, I know I said hair loss, but where did the thinning begin, right? In the crown, in the hairline, the temples, the nape, or was it overall? Because you want to separate traction alopecia from Ludwig, right? Or androgenetic alopecia, right? Or diffuse shedding. You want to separate that. So you want to know, okay, where did it start? Was it like all of a sudden it was all over? Was it just around the perimeter? All that other stuff. Also, asking myself, as I'm looking under the scope, does the smooth perimeter area still have visible follicular openings? Right? So this is going to determine whether the area is potentially recoverable or may need a dermatologist to evaluate for scarring. Right? Okay. And then I'm also going to ask the client, do you currently still feel like pain, itching, burning, tightness, or tenderness? Why? Because pain is a red flag for inflammation. Inflammation is also a red flag for tension trauma. It's also a red flag for possible scalp disease, right? So how often are the braids, the wigs, the ponytails, or the weaves worn? And then I'm looking at how tight are they? I remember seeing a lady who got she got a wig put on and didn't even realize, I don't know how she didn't realize. I think it was like maybe like the embarrassment of like, oh my God, look at my head. Hurry up and get this wig on. But what had happened was she actually, I think they used nail glue on her scalp. She had her skin breakdown, like an open wound when that wig came off. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. But she said, I was feeling the pain. It was burning. It was this, it was that. And I'm like, why didn't you get her to take it off? And she was like, I spent so much money, which is a whole nother thing, right? So how often are you wearing the wigs, the braids, the ponytails, the weaves? How tight are they, right? Because you want to identify the ongoing mechanical trauma. Oh, I come out of these braids, I wash it, and I go the next day, right? How often is she shampooing, right? Because the thing says that she shampoos when time permits, right? But the sweat plus the infrequent cleansing is going to make the buildup worse and is going to make the inflammation worse, right? So that's a big one. The next thing is when was her last relaxer and high lift color surface? Because we're looking at, for sure, chemical overlap, shaft compromise, right? But also we're looking at, okay, is she doing it herself? Like what's going on, right? Another thing I would ask, like within the consultation, this is like the full consultation, whether virtual or in person. I'm asking about I want to screen for like iron deficiency, right? So if the menstrual is heavy, fatigue, dizziness, cold hands, feet, all the things, craving for ice, right? Is she eating enough protein daily? And that's why I'm asking, okay, like give me a snapshot of your, like how you eat. Give me a snapshot of how you eat, right? From morning to evening, plus your snacks, right? Then I'm also looking at acne, if there's irregular cycles, different things like that, severe stress, because I'm looking at hormonal or endocrine contributors, because she has a lot of going on, right? She has a lot going on. All right, so let's look at our trichology impression. Let's look at our trichology impression, right? So chronic hair loss with primary suspicion of traction alopecia around the perimeter, right? Complicated by your chemical and mechanical breakage, severe scalp buildup, scalp discomfort, poor diet, and a possible internal nutritional deficiency. She has Ludwig type 1 that may suggest early centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, but at age 16, we have to interpret it cautiously, right? And we have to correlate with the labs and the menstrual history and the styling history and the dermoscopic findings, right? Because she has smooth areas and scalp pain, we're going to recommend that she also is seeing a dermatologist as well. But because we want to rule out the scarring alopecia, right, or in inflammatory scalp disease. How's that so far? All right, so in case studies, right, I'm always like, okay, like, what do you see? What kind of hair loss do you see? So I saw traction alopecia. I saw androgenetic alopecia, early onset CCCA, right? Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. I want to push you. I want to stretch you. Is that it? Again, while you're getting that together, if you want to learn how to think through these cases like this, right? The consultation, the intake, the protocol, logic, the treatment plan, and the follow-up. Class starts next Thursday. It is case study summer edition, super intense, but we get down to the bottom of it. And when we're done with this, or as we're going, you're going to be able to have a type of structure for you to go through treatment plans. Okay. So you can go to, I think the link is scrolling across, and it's also here on Instagram to go ahead and sign up for that case studies. Let me see. Also, I have a trichology systems audit. I have a clinical flow audit for trichologists. I have a scalp client systems audit. Different things like that. Let me see what else. All right, I'm just buying time for y'all to get your questions in. All right. What kind of hair loss do you see? Yep. So when you see all of this, like, what do you think you're looking at? Okay. Also, I have a client, a trichology client readiness review. So this reviews your website, your onboarding, your intake, your booking flow. Are they properly set up for hair loss clients from a trichology perspective, right? And so that's available for you. So if you want the trichology client readiness review, you can get that today. You could just go ahead and inbox me or put it in the chat that you want that. And I will give you that, the pricing for that. Okay. And then also I have the treatment plan setup session. So if you are trying to set up your treatment plans, this is going to be something really good for you to get. Okay, so we have those. All right, let me stop rambling. Let's go on. So after we look at these things and we decide, okay, these are the types of hair loss that we see, the scalp issues that we see. Now my question is, how are you going to remedy it? If you say that you see androgenetic alopecia, what do you do? What are you doing? What are you offering this client? What are you offering this client? What are you offering? Think about all the things you have in your wheelhouse as a trichologist. What things are you changing about her, how she does things, her routine? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let's think about protocol recommendations, right? Because when you look at a protocol, and I always say this, a protocol is like the little pieces that you kind of string together to make a full treatment plan so that you can get your client from point A to Z, or from where they are to a desired result that you two have worked together to say, okay, this is where you're going to be after you work with me for 12 weeks, right? And so the first those 12 weeks with all the things that she has going on, and she's a teenager, right? The first things that I'm going to be looking at is that I'm not going to grow hair fast. The first thing I'm looking at as a goal is going to be to stop the injury, calm the scalp, restore the scalp hygiene, strengthen the hair, and then I'm going to identify internal blockers. I'm going to do all of that in my treatment plan. Anybody else? I'm going to do all of that in my treatment plan. When I'm looking at this client and I'm saying, okay, I need a protocol for the thinning. I need a protocol for the androgenetic alopecia. I need a protocol for the burning, the inflammation. I need all that. As a matter of fact, you can go to my website and get the Big 5 protocol guide, and it has the anti-inflammatory diet on it as well. So that's going to be like a real help to you, right? So the first thing I'm looking at for immediate protocol recommendation is not to grow the hair real fast, although that's what the client is going to want. I need to stop the injury. I need to calm the scalp down. I need to restore the scalp hygiene. Remember, she shampoos when time permits. I need to strengthen the hair fibers. I need to identify whatever those internal blockers are, right? So my non-negotiables are going to be no tight braids, no tight ponytails, no tight wigs, glue, lace tension, no heavy extensions, right? I have to look at no relaxers and high lift for the first 12 weeks. And if nothing else, remember, she's a 16-year-old. Like she gonna want to look cute. What if she said, well, I gotta wear my wigs, then you have to wear glueless, right? So like, how are you doing this when you're looking at your protocols? Like, how are you going to pull things together? This is going to be really, really big, right? No scratching, no picking, no oiling over the buildup. So inside the clinic, do you have a proper detox? Do you have, is she able to get scalp exfoliation? Like are you going to exfoliate a scalp like this? Are you going to be scraping up and scratching a scalp like this? Or are you going to have some kind of aquatic mister or steam treatment, something that loosens the buildup and gets the scalp back to where it needs to be? Like, what are you doing? What are you offering this client who's 16 years old, who still got to look cute, mind you, who's still a child, mind you, right? And so it's not only that you're talking to her, it's like her parent or guardian involvement as well, right? No long gaps between cleansing, especially because she's an athlete. Especially because she's an athlete, right? And so if you wanted to, depending on what your networking looks like, let's look at your professional referrals, right? You may refer her to a dermatologist, right? And then you also may refer her to her pediatrician or her PCP for labs and nutritional screening, of course, right? But if she has something like within that year, you could look at it and look at the things that you need to look at, right? So let's look at a treatment plan. Like, how you gonna, first of all, before I go there, what's going to be your protocol? So you need a protocol for each separate thing that you see. Does that make sense? If you see traction alopecia, you need what is your protocol for traction alopecia? How do you treat traction alopecia? If you see CCCA or early onset, anything inflammatory, do you have a protocol for inflammation? Okay. Do you have a protocol for telogen effluvium? Do you have a protocol for breakage? That's going to be important, because honestly, you're not going to know you have all that stuff and then make a treatment plan and not string those together. How are your protocols going to work in tandem? How are they going to work together? That's going to be really big, because that's how you're going to get the client from A to Z. So when you think about hair restoration and you being a trichologist, it's honestly not as hard as we make it. Trichology is easy. If you have the protocols, you have the treatment plan. If you have 24 protocols, you can mix and match those protocols and have endless treatment plans. Okay? So the first thing we want to do in weeks 1 to 2, right? If we look at a 12-week treatment plan, say they are full treatment plan, right? Full treatment plan. The first thing we want to do is what? We want to stop the trauma and we want to create a clean baseline, right? So in your office, you got the full scalp and hair history. You got the microscopic exam with the photos, right? You're doing density mapping. What does that look like? Okay, what does the hairline look like? What does the temples look like? We got the crown, we got the nape. We're looking at like the part lines, right? Then we're looking at the hair shaft assessment, right? Think about all those fiber issues, right? Let's think about bubble hair and breakage and all those things, right? Then we're looking at gentle clarifying, right? Because she has the buildup. So we need to decongest the scalp. Do you have a decongesting scalp treatment? Okay, you're leaving money on the table. A detox. Do you have a decent detox for your client's scalp to so you can decongest those follicles, right? Then you have to look at what is the proper hydrating shampoo and conditioner that you may have, right? If the scalp is inflamed, do you have a scalp calming treatment? If you don't, what does that look like? I talk about that in case studies, right? There's some really, like, I don't say dope, but there's some really awesome things that we can do as trichologists that we completely forget, because we in this box of, if it's not in this bottle, then I can't do it. If it's not in this box, I can't do it. Nobody ever said, but think about it. Scalp is skin. What are some scalp calming treatments that you can do for the client, right? And then you're also a licensed cosmetologist, most of the trichologists I know. So is there trimming, dusting, anything for those severely compromised ends, right? So for the client at home, right? So they have to do what? They have to be able to cleanse, right? So if they're seeing you every week, then if the client is seeing you every week, then maybe they don't have to cleanse, you'll do it, right? But if they are doing, like, instead of every week, saying that they are a full treatment plan client and they come to you every other week, so every other week you're shampooing the hair. So on the weeks that they don't come to you because they're an athlete, they should be washing their hair, right? So they have to, because of the sweat. Okay. So they need a gentle cleanser for at home, right? They don't need heavy oils, right? They need a moisturizing leave-in or light sealant for the hair shaft. They have to avoid tight styles. So you have a full gamut of things that you have to do. You have to provide them with some solutions for use for a loose or low tension hairstyling. They have to sleep with their satin or silk protection, right? Then we look at internal, right? They have to start a food log. As a trichologist, do you offer your clients a food log when you know that nutrition and internal issues are a part of their hair loss? Do you offer a food log? Create one today. Create a food log. Start talking about that. When you post today, after this case studies, I want you to put up a post and say, hey, when is the last time you logged your food for hair growth? First of all, nobody's doing that. That's crazy. Do it immediately. Do it immediately. When was the last time? When was the last time that you logged your food for hair growth? When was the last time you did that? I think I went off on Instagram. Right? When was the last time? So that's going to be big because people are not doing that. But if you are going to do anything with hair restoration, you have to know about nutrition. You have to consider that the hair grows from the inside out. And we're not. We're not considering that. We're not considering that. We're just trying to get right to the products. And you can't. You cannot. Okay? Let me see. Next thing you want to look at is how you're going to increase protein for this client. How are you going to get them to increase protein, right? What is the hydration plan? You know what? I'm about to do this today. I want you to do it. If you are a trichologist, I want you to come up with a hydration challenge for the week. Hydration challenge for the week. Let it be absolutely free. And I want you to do a hydration challenge, right? Because people are not drinking enough water. I've literally had potential clients come to me and say, well, I drink water every day. I have water in my coffee and in my tea. Like it was okay. Okay. So do you have a hydration plan? If you want to know what a hydration plan consists of, inbox me. Also, you want to request the labs through the physician, right? Or through the client. They usually have it on their My Chart. You want to look at the labs, right? Week 3 to 4, right? That's your stabilization phase, right? So this is when you reduce your buildup, reduce the pain, the inflammation, while you're protecting the hair, right? So in office, you're looking at a second scalp therapy treatment. You're going to recheck the tenderness and the buildup. You're going to assess whether the pain is decreasing. You want a light exfoliation if the scalp barrier is intact. So if it's not, you cannot do exfoliation. Hello? You cannot do exfoliation if the scalp barrier is not intact. And also you want to have a moisture protein balance treatment based on the elasticity for the client. This, I'm just walking you through what you would do. So if they came to you on weeks 3 to 4, this is what you're going to be doing, right? 3 to 4. At home, they still doing their shampoo maintenance, no relaxer, no color, no tight protective styles, gently detangling only, low manipulation styles, right? Scalp serum only if the scalp is clean and it's not irritated, right? And so right here, this is the decision point, because if the pain is still present and if the smooth areas look shiny or the follicular opening are absent, right, you need to refer out. You don't want to keep doing like cosmetic stimulation over a possible scarring area. So that's really big. Does that make sense? Any questions thus far? Okay, no? All right. Now, when we get to weeks 5 through 8, this is that recovery and strengthening phase. Weeks 5 through 8 is the recovery through strengthening phase, right? And your goal here is to improve the scalp condition, right? You want to reduce the breakage, of course, and then you want to support early regrowth where the follicles are viable. So in the office, you got your scalp therapy, whatever that may be. You have your hydration treatment. You have your strengthening treatment if the breakage is still active. You have your progress photos here, so you're looking at it again. Maybe underneath the scope, take some scope pictures, take some with your phone. You want to check the perimeter for like vellus hairs or early regrowth. And then you also want to check the crown, right, for the density change. At home, they're still cleansing. They're conditioning with every wash. They're using a leave-in hydration. They are avoiding heat or keeping it very minimal. No chemical processing still, because they still in that zone. The extension pulling or no extension pulling or perimeter. On the perimeter. So you don't want, all the braids. And then you also want to make sure that the nutrition compliance is continued. Hey, Jay, you want to make sure that it's continued. So whatever you told them about, listen, this is what you need to eat. This is your blood type. This is that and the other. This is what you want to have. Also, you want to look at, depending on what the client is, what you have deemed important or variable. They may have a low-level light therapy at home. Definitely you can do that inside the clinic. You have scalp massage, but only if the scalp is not inflamed or tender. Don't start doing all that stuff and they not, then you have your topical growth supporting products, right? And this is something that I feel like if it's a minor, like you have to bring the parents right on in. Now when we get to weeks 9 to 12, right? You have your growth support and your reevaluation phase, right? Not only that, this is how you're going to transition the client into their maintenance. This is how you're going to transfer them into their maintenance, right? Transition them. So your goal here is to decide in weeks 9 to 12 to decide whether the case is responding and then building a next 90-day plan. Because it was so many things that were happening that you have to kind of break it down. Although you're trying to address so many different things, you still probably going to have to see this client one more time. So in office, you're comparing the baseline photos to week 12. All right, this is how it started. This is what it is now, right? You're going to repeat the microscopic exam. How many of y'all know that although we are looking at the client underneath the scope, right? Looking underneath the scope really doesn't do anything for a client that's first getting it, except for them being able to see. Because you really need a little time to be able to kind of check that out, right? So you want to repeat the microscopic exam around week 12. You want to assess the scalp pain, of course, any buildup, if there's any breakage, density, follicular activity. You want to review the labs if available, so if they got new labs. And then you want to update your diagnosis impression, okay? And then you want to create your maintenance or escalation plan. Now, this is the part. Is it going to be a maintenance or an escalation plan? Which one are you going to have? So if the client is doing well and everything's good, then they get a maintenance plan. But if the client still needs some work, they get an escalation plan. Does that make sense? Hey, Jay. So if the pain is gone, the buildup is controlled, the short hairs are emerging, you can continue another 12-week growth support phase, right? But if the breakage is improved, but the density is not changed, then you want to continue with like scalp repair and keep looking at like internal labs. But it's a few variables. If it's smooth and it remains unchanged and the follicular openings are still absent, then you want to refer to their dermatologist for scarring evaluation as well, right? And then you also want to discuss like realistic expectations. Remember, this person is still only 16. You see this on the screen. And if the central thinning continues, even though you reduce the traction, then you still want to look at what's internal, what's hormonal, or what is genetic. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Everybody good? Everybody good? So what would you tell the client and the parent? This person is 16 years old, right? The first thing I'm going to say is, look, I see more than one issue happening. I see more than one issue happening. This is how you're like honest. I see more than one issue happening. The hairline and perimeter suggests like tension related hair loss. So I know that there is some kind of a tension related hair loss. Remember, wigs, weaves, braids, tight ponytails. The dry and breaking hair suggests the chemical and mechanical damage, right? So whoever is bleaching his baby hair and putting a relaxer on it and all that other stuff, there is damage. The scalp buildup and the pain tell me that the scalp environment is not healthy right now. This is you after you look at the full thing and you're given a breakdown to decide which treatment plan they're going to be in, right? So before we chase growth is what I tell the client and the parent. Before we chase growth, we need to stop the trauma. We need to clean and calm the scalp. We need to protect the hair shaft. And we need to check the internal markers because she's a young athlete with a poor diet. So the first 12 weeks are about stabilization and evidence. Okay? Now, depending on what level trichologist you are, if you know your level, if you're a level 5, right? As a level 5, you know, there's some things that you're looking at. Let's pretend like we all are level 5, right? And let's look at your framework as it relates to not mislabeling every team as alopecia without separating, right? So you have root loss versus shaft breakage, traction versus shedding, scalp disease versus product buildup, nutritional deficiency versus your styling trauma, and then what a recoverable follicle looks like versus a possible scarring. All of those things you got to look at. Does that make sense? All right, so let's just roll it up. Let me see, you got a comment over here. Hey, so we just got to roll it up. Here we go. If you are doing this case study and you have this client, first of all, I don't know, as a trichologist, would I take a 16-year-old? Like they're still growing, it's still like a lot of stuff. Now, there are some things that I would do that I would recommend, but I wouldn't, the things that I would do for an adult, I would not do for a growing child. Perhaps. Okay? So that's number one. Next thing is you're looking at all the variables. What are these things that they're going through? After you see all the things they're going through, what are your variables? What kind of hair loss or scalp issue do you see? After you do all of that, what kind of hair loss? Name the hair loss and scalp issues. After you do that, what are the protocols for each of those things? After you do that, what would be a treatment plan that you would give this client? All of those things make sense. All those things you need to do. If you're able to make that into a system, then you can help anybody. Results are results, but you could help everybody. Like, that's your framework. Again, I have a full case study class coming up next week, starting on the 9th. It is a short summertime case studies. So we're going to have 4 case studies. It is only 2 weeks. So you're not going to be with me for 4 weeks. We're not going to be here all night. We're going to do what we need to do because you need to refresh how you are treating clients. You need to refresh how you are doing your protocols. You have slipped back into what product you use, what this, what that. No. So the thing that I showed you today is just a sample. If you want to learn more about how to think through cases when people come to you, the consultation, the intake protocol logic, the treatment planning, the follow-up, the class is only $497. And I only need the people who are serious about improving their clinical eye. The link is below. The link is not on this one on Instagram, but it's in my bio over on Trichology 911. Okay, so I want you to secure that. Okay, we have a few things that you need. There is a trichology client readiness review. And so this reviews whether your website, your onboarding, your intake, your booking flow are properly set up for hair loss clients from a trichological perspective. Okay. You need that because this is for the trichologist whose website or onboarding looks nice, but it does not properly prepare the client for a real trichological experience. You got all the pictures, you got all the things, but your website is not doing what it needs to do. You have to at least have one page on your website that says, hey, this is what it is, not a bunch of trichological jargon that we learned and then we saying trichology is the bridge between your cosmetologist and your dermatologist. Very good, very good. But now that you've been a trichologist this long, what really do you do? You're not helping everybody. So what really are you doing? Right? And so what this is going to check is client is educated before they book, that the hair loss intake readiness, that's big. Scalp history, question flow, you're going to have all of that. Consultation preparation, pre-visit instructions, you need all of that. Treatment expectation language, right? You didn't lose hair overnight, you're not going to grow it overnight. Clinical professionalism, okay? Whether the client understands what happens next. Then the next thing that I have is a treatment plan setup session, right? So basically, we're looking at those things. This is for the person who knows what they want to recommend, but they don't have a clean way to organize the client's protocol, their phases, the timing, the products, the follow-ups, and the expectations. So what you're going to get from that is your treatment plan structure. You're going to get a protocol phases. You're going to get education, a client education flow. You're going to get product service recommendation layout, and then a follow-up timeline. Because we are seeing clients, we are talking to clients possibly, but we're not following up. Okay. And so that's another one. So if you want that, you can inbox me. The next thing, let me see. So yeah, so if you're struggling with taking the information from the consultation and turning it into a clear treatment plan, you need case studies. But if you don't get that right now, then you need what I just said. Okay. And then also I have a case study review mini session. And this is basically where you bring me your case studies. You got clients? No, you cannot inbox me. Do not text me. No, this is a service. Okay. So I review one of your client cases. You got somebody, you want to give me the pictures, you want to give me the labs. I'm going to do all the logic. We're going to talk about it. So if you have a case sitting in your phone right now or wherever, and you're not fully sure of how to think it through, I am dropping the clinical case clarity session, right? So bring me one case. I will walk you through the logic. And then what happens is that logic is going to support the information, all the things, right? So everything that you need for your clients, that's what it's going to do. All right. I hope I helped you. I hope you enjoyed this case study. This was kind of long. I think it was on for over an hour. So I'm going to save the second case study for sometime later this week. But you need to join me for case studies, the real one, the real deal, right? It's going to be on the 9th and the 16th. So that's next Tuesday and the Tuesday after. But I'm going to be giving you so much because we're not just going to do these case studies. I'm looking at your language, how you do things, how you need to revamp what you might have worked with me before, but you're like, yo, I don't even know what I'm doing. I kind of got into this zone. I done took some other classes. I got a bunch of stuff. Now I'm confused. Don't be confused. Be registered. I hope I see you next time. Have a great day today. Happy hair growing.